Oh yeah. Welcome to what we're now calling Mini-sodes. This is Mini-sode 0 for WoAS podcast. And today we're going to be talking about Yes. The other day I was watching a video by Produce Like a Pro where they kind of dove into a series of albums that Yes did, some really kind of defining albums of their career. For those of you that don't know, Yes is a very prolific prog rock band from the, I guess, technically late 60s through today. They've had many incarnations, many members, things like that. But this particular video was focusing on, I think, a series of like 6 albums, and it had this core lineup of John Anderson, Rick Wakeman, Chris Squire, Bill Bruford, and Steve Howe, who is a very, very avant-garde guitarist. I would maybe even compare him to like a Robert Fripp. And, you know, I think the point that video was making that I would agree with is that it's definitely like the kind of better period for that band. But anyway, I was starting to think about how much I liked Yes, and I thought it would be kind of fun to do a quick episode where we talk about making a Yes biopic, because one has never been made. And, you know, all the big bands like Queen and Elton John have had their time on the silver screen, right? So I thought it'd be fun to talk about who would we cast in the roles, what would we call the film, what would be the format. But before we get into that, a little background. My co-host here is not exactly that familiar with Yes, so I made him a little 3-song playlist that I tried to make digestible, but all their songs are pretty sort of out there and only limited to a certain length. So
Yes.
Yeah, and to just be clear, the songs on the playlist are the following. By the way, that intro track was Siberian Cat True, so that's the second one we have on the playlist. Kind of more jumpy number, but Long Distance Runaround, which is on the Close to the Edge album. And no, I'm sorry, it's on Fragile. Siberian Cat True, which I mentioned, which is on Close to the Edge. And then Starship Trooper, which is a very sort of like classic radio friendly song that was, you know, a big hit of the time. So anyway, enough of me blabbering. What did you think about the 3-song selection of Yes?
So again, I have very limited exposure to Yes beyond, you know, things that were on soundtracks or what you hear on classic rock radio. So I've heard the name Steve Howe, and I'm familiar with his like 70s Les Paul. That's like a famous looking thing. And beyond that, I don't know anything about Yes. You said all the names of the members earlier.
Yeah.
The only one I recognize is Steve Howe.
And you just kind of blanked out.
Yeah. And I pulled up a picture of them before this, and I was like, man, I don't know any of these guys. So
okay.
I'll have to have a visual reference as we cast the movie here.
Okay. Well, don't worry, because I have exactly that. So
perfect.
Yeah.
So you sent me this playlist, and I was like, man, Yes is a crazy band, because 2 of the songs on there I think are 8 minutes plus. I couldn't believe that a 3-song playlist was like 25 minutes long. So
yeah, indeed.
I was driving in the car, and I was thinking, okay, I'm just gonna listen to this real quick, you know, pump through these 3 songs, and it was my entire drive was just the playlist. So they're an interesting band. Great playing, great parts, but for me, I just feel like I'm kind of too dumb for prog rock a lot of times.
Not at all, my friend.
There's just too many ideas going on, and I can't keep up. My slow brain is like, just wants you know, straight 4/4 beats and predictable melodies and chords.
Or you just haven't come across, well, not that you just haven't, or it's just a matter of having the right flavor of prog rock, right? Because you do enjoy King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and they're for sure in some kind of prog, you know, genre. I didn't even know if that's fair to say, because they do so many different styles.
They do so many things.
But it's almost like their prog is like meta, right? Like them being prog is like doing every style of music and doing it well.
Yeah. I was trying to think about why prog rock is interesting for people, and it's like, seems like one of those things where it's kind of like almost classical music, where you're kind of revisiting these themes, these thematic elements throughout a piece, and it's more of a piece than it is, you know, just a song. it's a different kind of way to tell a story with music.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think they're more bands that belong to that category. Let's say like Jethro Tull and early Genesis and yes, and even I mean it's not really prog, but like even like Rainbow with Ronnie James Dio, they're with all these like fantasy themes. And then yes, I'm sorry, Rush.
Rush.
Yeah,
Yes, Rush.
Yeah, these like sort of fantastical fantasy, sci-fi, etc. landscapes that they're painting. Yeah, I think it also sort of lends itself to a longer format because the story is a little bit more beyond words and beyond lyrics and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be part of it. They're taking you on a journey. I mean, even like you could call Pink Floyd prog if they are in fact not prog. And same thing, it kind of you go on a journey, except they kind of time box their stuff a little bit better, or like with Dark Side where one song runs into the to the next.
So, right. It has a cutoff instead of being like 10 ideas in 8 minutes.
Yeah, right.
And then they're just like, no, that's one thing.
But look, there's a hidden benefit to that too. When I was coming up with this idea, I watched the video, right, the Produce Like a Pro video, and then I went got on the treadmill and go do a jog, and I was like, let me throw in some Yes, and that's what actually sparked this whole idea. And I started with Close to the Edge, and the opening track. You're lucky I didn't start you with that. It's like title track, Close to the Edge. It's like 19 minutes, and two things happen. One, I ran 10 minutes longer than I normally do.
Right.
And then two, I felt great and was like, I don't know if I would have even really like put in half the effort if I wasn't listening to that. So it's more than just like zoning out and getting kind of
right
nerdy
so if you need
musical
some pump up music, and you want to just keep it going, you just put on a one song.
That's right.
That's your daily cardio.
Yeah, I mean, even just listening to it probably burns calories.
Yeah, it might.
But
definitely hurt my brain.
Yeah. Well, but I will say, just like side note, just one day when you do have a spare 20 minutes, just at least go and listen to the opening to that title track.
Okay.
Because it's slamming. It's so good.
How long is the whole album?
Let's see here if it even says. I'm curious. It is. Let me go to the album. I'm gonna say like an hour, but let's see. 1 hour and 4 minutes.
Okay.
And it's actually I'm sorry, because I'm looking at the deluxe version.
Imagine trying to pull that off live.
I mean, they did.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
they
it's just
did.
like
I couldn't do it.
Me either. But it's just like the Grateful Dead. I mean, if you enjoy where that music takes you, you'll not only sort of embrace it live, but these bands, whether you like them or not, that's part of their thing. They some of them maybe started being able to do that live, and then bring it into the studio, and some vice versa, of course.
Yeah.
So with all this in mind, I don't think there's controversy with the story of the band in the sense that like people weren't getting arrested or, like ODing or anything like that. But there's just this like rotating cast of characters. And I'm going to say it's something in like the 20s as far as the amount of members that have come through the band. Wow. So it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking if you were going to do a biopic, it would probably be better to do a comedy and sort of do it in this like a Spinal Tap 2 sort of fashion where you kind of play with the rotating cast. I mean, I think this biopic we should just focus on kind of the albums like Fragile and the periods where Fragile and Close to the Edge came from. But anyway, so if it was a Spinal Tap style mockumentary, I was thinking about, all right, well, what would the titles be? So
yeah,
if you have thoughts, please share. But I prepared about 3 titles that I think could work.
What about just yes?
Which was just a question mark.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Like, huh? I don't know if you're gonna like them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good. Okay. So I'll give you my first one. We're not called No.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Now
I can see that being a quote in the movie for sure.
Right. Rick Wakeman, who is known far and wide prior to and following outside of Yes, big session guy. There's a couple interesting things he played on. I could go look it up. I'll waste time doing that, but he's been on some like really big songs prior to Yes.
Yeah.
And probably on the ones guys like he started when he was really young. So anyway, that's one of the members, right? Rick Wakeman is sort of synonymous with yes. So my second offering for a title is Makeups, Breakups, and Rick Wake-Ups.
Rick Wake-Ups.
Huh? Do you have any other ones? Because I'm gonna give you my last really obscure play on words one, but
let's see. How about which band is this?
Okay.
I feel like people aren't that familiar with this band in general, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, I hate to say because I hold them in such high regard.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it would be one of those things people would be like, huh?
They still have 3 million monthly listeners on Spotify. I saw that's quite a bit.
I think it's like it would be the same thing if someone made a Steely Dan movie like that, right? Like there's an insane fan base, but the general public would be like, who, Dan? You know?
Right.
All right, fine. So then great. So these are all awesome titles. Here's my last offering. All right, now you remember Steve Howe. So Howe, Howe, how was I in Yes?
How was I in Yes?
Yeah.
You think he remembers?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could probably like, depending on where you put the comma or whatever, you could interpret that different ways. So, you know.
Howe, Steve Howe.
Yeah.
I was in Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I'm saying. You have to kind of phrase it like a question where he's like an existential thing. How was I in Yes?
Right.
Okay, so to sort of close out this mini-sode, we're going to kind of jump into the casting call portion of this. So for any Hollywood green lighters that may be watching or listening, I'm gonna
your casting directors watching this video.
Yeah, or just we could do the work now and then you could just thank us later.
Yeah, just steal us. Put it like a little Instagram link at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
that'll be fine.
We'll take a credit. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share screen and show you what I came up with here. All right. So the casting call for the Yes biopic. By the way, I didn't know if it was biopic or biopic. It's biopic, but that's probably obvious.
Is it biopic? I always said biopic.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Like its own word.
Yeah, it wasn't obvious. Okay. Now I don't feel so stupid. And again, for this one, we could use any of the titles we mentioned, but just for now, Yes, Breakups, Makeups, and Rick Wake-Ups. All right, so we're going to start with John Anderson. Okay. The iconic singer of Yes.
He's got a great voice.
He does. Thank you for saying that on his behalf.
Great voice. Yeah.
And I think another thing too, I'm not saying this is your feeling, but I wonder if sometimes his voice is polarizing too, and that could be like Geddy Lee's or maybe Robert Plant.
He's got this nice like subtle rasp to it that I like.
Interesting. And when he speaks, he sounds like that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's got good range. He doesn't do like a lot of crazy stuff, but it's pleasing to me to listen to. I like it.
Good. Yeah. And I would say that I agree. He doesn't do any fancy vocal stuff, but the harmonies are really where I think
the harmonies, tons of harmonies.
And like Steve Howe sings on a lot of those, those tracks as well. He does the low harmonies, I think. So anyway, John Anderson. I now with everyone on this list, like I promise you, I really racked my brain trying to sort of find doppelgangers and whatnot, and it's tough. But I think I got close with this one. John Anderson, as played by none other than Jeremy Allen White of Shameless and the new hit series The Bear.
Wow.
I also scoured the internet trying to find different sort of perspective photos and whatnot. They do have different facial features, but it's close enough you could make it work.
It's pretty close. Yeah.
Right? So there you go, Jeremy Allen White. Good. You're welcome. That's your next gig on the big screen.
On the big screen.
Okay, so next up is Steve Howe. Steve's got one of those faces where it looks very different from different angles.
Yep.
So it was hard, like in one angle he looks like these are 3 actors, but then I couldn't find a picture of those actors that matched and whatnot. Now, keep in mind, disclaimer to the audience here, that we are going to have to take some liberties where, in this case of who I'm going to reveal, we may need to do a little CGI after the fact to kind of make him look a little bit younger.
De-age.
But, yes, but that's the age we're in. We could do that, right?
Yeah. You can do it to De Niro. You can do it to anybody.
Exactly. So Steve Howe, as played by Hugo Weaving, ladies and gentlemen. None other than Agent, what's his name from The Matrix?
Agent Smith.
Yes, Agent Smith. There you go. And the Elf King in Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
Okay, Hugo Weaving. Tell me what you think, everyone. Leave comments. So Bill Bruford. Okay, this one I really had fun with because, again, different angles, different actors, but there's some similarities. I almost went with Andy Samberg, but he's got a couple features that are very different. So Bill Bruford is played by none other than Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords.
I was going to say this one earlier.
Okay.
Absolutely. Jermaine Clement would be great for this.
Right?
Yeah. 100%.
And with the facial angles thing, like the Steve Howe pictures, there's a couple pictures I saw where it does look like Jermaine Clement. So like that would be hilarious if he like playing into the sort of the Spinal Tap kind of goofiness if he played like two characters,
Yeah.
Right? Could be interesting. So
that could be good.
Yeah. So Jermaine, consider it.
Can't go wrong with Jermaine. And like you could even get some original music maybe for the soundtrack. That's Yes-esque. I don't know if you ever watched Flight of the Conchords, but they have like a whole Bowie episode.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where they just do Bowie things the whole episode. Yeah. All original music.
They're so funny, man.
Let's do that with Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. That would be great. So there you go, Bill Bruford. All right, and then the last one. This is probably my favorite, just in terms of the caliber of actor. And I would like to point out that the next one and everyone except for Jeremy Allen White are all English. I think they're all English. I'm sorry. No, he's from New Zealand. Yeah, but like they're not American actors.
Right.
So it's like we got some authenticity going on there. All right. So this next one, Chris Squire, the bass player.
I already know who I would pick for this one.
I hope I'm right, because it's just going to be so satisfying. Chris Squire is played by none other than Benedict motherfucking Cumberbatch.
Oh, wow. That's probably even better than the one I had in mind.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say Paul Dano.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Those cheekbones.
Yeah. Right?
Cumberbatch could do a good job too, though.
I just feel like that would just elevate it.
Yeah.
You got like him and Hugo Weaving.
Yeah.
It's like that. Now it's serious.
It's a hard-hitting movie.
But like it's not. So you have that caliber of actor in like a really silly context.
I think Benedict could pull off some comedy stuff for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, he's like Dr. Strange.
Dr. Strange, yeah.
Yeah. So that's already
there's some comedy elements.
Cheeky role, right?
Right.
So then to close this out for our casting call here, I want to open up the comments. Please comment, because I really couldn't figure this one out. Rick Wakeman, I don't know who he looks like. I mean, there's some people I can think of that come to mind, but they're either not an actor or whatever. Oh, I know what my original thought was, maybe Kiefer Sutherland if we do the CGI thing again.
Oh, I can see a little Kiefer in there, a little Jack Bauer.
Like the intense kind of look in the eyes kind of thing.
This look with the greasy hair, it's just you can't picture somebody like that's just not a hairstyle anymore.
It's like really long too. If you look at backed out photos, it's like kind of to his stomach, and then he always wore, or still does, I think, wears a cape when he plays, like his series of cape. It's awesome. It's like it's perfect. And it's not like a magician or a Superman cape. It's like a medieval clasp, and I think he's furnished
more
swords.
Of a cloak.
Yeah, cloak. There you go. That's it. Cloak. Sort of Lord of the Rings ish looking.
Yeah.
Again, not saying reconsider your position on Yes, but just think of the stage show if you saw them in their prime.
Right. Cloaks and all.
Oh, yes.
Cloaks. Is that the name of the movie?
Cloaks and all. That's good. Jeremy for the win. It doesn't even matter who plays Wakeman, and maybe even Jermaine Clement could play him as well.
See, this is what I would do if I was Yes. I would absolutely try to get this movie made as a comedy. I feel like that's such a good way to go, because like, how are you going to make a serious biopic about like a prog rock band? Like the elements of that genre of music are so ridiculous and fantastical already.
Right. Yeah, I that's a great point. Well, like what came to mind, the other sort of comparison I would make, I don't know if you saw it, but the Weird Al movie on the Roku channel. Like, I thought that was brilliant because, first of all, that's totally what you would expect of him, because he's like got a great sense of humor. But I love it how it was like timeline wise they had everything accurate and like the things he was releasing, but then everything else was just completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like the best part of that whole movie is the scene at the pool when he does Another One Rides the Bus, and like everyone playing Andy Warhol and Alice Cooper, and the cameos are hysterical, you know.
Right. That's what you need. And
yeah.
you could have an awesome cast of cameos from that time.
Mhm.
Just like Dewey Cox has a similar vibe.
Right. That's yes, there you go. That's another good one. Yeah,
And
man,
that's one
like,
of my favorites.
yeah, it's a great movie. There's a lot of really good music parody stuff out there I never
Yeah.
realized.
Let's make another one.
Awesome. Yeah, totally. So anyway, you know, again, if anyone from Hollywood is watching, just, you know, there you go. There's the,
Yeah, you can send us our
elevator
money.
pitch. Yeah, that's right.
We'll give an email. It should be in the description of this
It sure
video.
is. Yep.
And you can just send us a check.
So yes, please do. So anyway, that concludes Mini-sode 0. We're gonna say 0 because, you know, hopefully we'll continue to do this, but if not, there's just episode 0. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and please tell us who you think could play Rick Wakeman. Share any titles you think would be appropriate, or anything else you have to say on the subject. And thank you for watching. Jay Down, I'll see you next time, buddy.
All right. See you, buddy.
All right. Take it easy. Did you enjoy that episode? Yes? Would you like to see and hear more? Please like and subscribe, and you'll automatically receive notifications when we publish new episodes. Thanks for watching and listening to the WoAS podcast.